Alrighty, so the curtains have sadly dropped on the first Battlefield 5 open beta. You might have noticed that aside from the stream I did on that first day of release, I've not really had any other Battlefield 5 content, and I've actually done that on purpose. Partly because I've been prioritizing my time by gathering as much footage as I could before the beta ended, and part of it was that I wanted to give myself the full week's worth of adjustment period before I came to any conclusions or offered any sort of opinions on the game. Which was a smart move in hindsight, because in the first few days, I was in a bit of a love-hate relationship with the game, if I'm honest. It just wasn't clicking for me. I was getting really frustrated with bugs and in-game mechanics, and I wasn't really enjoying it a lot of the time. And if I'm honest, this was really upsetting me. The Cranky Pants came out a few times, which was no good at all. I like to be chill when I play, and I was really struggling to be in those first few hours. So yeah, if you'd asked me early on, I would have been pretty negative about it. But things have changed. You know, my weapons have been upgraded, which has helped bring a bit of pace and lethality back to my playstyle. I've also adjusted to the mechanics a bit and got used to the maps and the overall feel of the game, but most importantly, and for those of you who maybe didn't enjoy the beta as much as you expected, this may be why. I've been playing more as a squad, and when I do that, I really do have a lot of fun, despite the bugs and the other stuff that gets in the way. And I suppose that this is what DICE have intended, for Battlefield 5 to be heavily squad focused, and I think in that they have succeeded. It's a very rewarding experience that I'm already looking forward to reliving again. So for that reason alone, I'm not cancelling my pre-order. I really did enjoy myself when I was playing as a squad. But putting the positives to one side for a moment, because let's be real, Battlefield 5 is nowhere near as polished as Battlefield 1. It's not, but that's not really all that surprising. Battlefield 1 had way less going on, and Battlefield 5 is still in beta, so a lot will change. I won't make any promises on behalf of DICE, but these little issues, these bugs, these features that slightly detract from your experience, I think for the most part should get fixed. Features like not hearing enemy footsteps, the medic revive icon not being particularly visible, weapon audio issues, the planes, the squad mechanics, and that really annoying bug that breaks your game when you get revived too fast. That actually happens at the end of this clip I've got in the background. It was quite a long streak actually, and really frustrating, but anyway. Also, the beta on console at the moment is it's pretty rough in places. I don't think it's been optimized that well, and I suspect that the settings are going to get changed as well before release. But don't quote me. My point is that these little issues are what the beta is for, so try not to get too caught up in them, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. Yes, tell the DICE where these issues are. Tell the DICE, screw it, I'm leaving it. There is a platform for that, but reality is that every man and his dog is making entire videos on this stuff that is essentially already a work in progress. And I guess I wanted to make the point that just because it's not ready now, doesn't mean it won't be ready by launch. But to be fair, it doesn't mean that it will be either. So if you're really worried about this stuff, just hold off from buying it until we know a little bit more. But moving on, I only have one major concern with the game as it stands. I mean, well, actually, I have a few, but this is probably the biggest one, and the rest kind of contribute to this issue. And it is to do with the squad play I mentioned earlier and how much more difficult it is to play by yourself. So as I try to unpack this issue, let's first talk about the attrition system, which is the new system where players have limited ammo and health regeneration. It's been a bit of a crowd splitter, hasn't it? I mean, personally, I didn't really notice it when I'm playing with a squad that's actually doing its job, like the medic healing and the support resupplying and such, but when I'm not, I noticed straight away. You become much more limited with your movement, and you are constantly having to find resupply stations, which is a bit of an inconvenience, and sometimes you just get stuck in the middle of nowhere with no ammo. And this is particularly bad when you're attacking on the operations game modes. Like you push up to a certain point, and then you get stuck with no ammo, and then you often have to run all the way back to resupply yourself, and then you lose your position, which is really frustrating. I mean, as a standalone issue, I think the attrition needs a tweak. Maybe tailored for different game modes, for example. I don't really know. But you can see how much harder it is for people who aren't working together, especially when you factor in the lack of 3D spotting, which is a change I'm not particularly bothered about. I like the fact that I can be a little bit more stealthy, and if I do get spotted by one guy, the entire team isn't immediately notified. But what has created this new attrition system is a more rewarding experience for defensive, campy playstyles, which again, I'm not really a fan of. I mean, Battlefield 5 is difficult, guys, much more difficult than Battlefield 1. And what I noticed was a lot of players were capping a flag, running for 10 seconds or so to resupply ammo, running another 20 seconds to get the health, which is annoyingly placed on the upper level of that objective, and by the time they'd done that, the enemy team had pushed up to the flag again, and the process starts over. And leaving that flag to push the next one is risky, as not everyone will follow you, and if you haven't resupplied, you could get killed by a sniper or run out of ammo before you get there. And that's what I've noticed, particularly when I was playing by myself, that there was a lot of errand running, like running between sort of resupply stations and health stations and sort of staying relatively close to the flags, which slowed the gameplay down. And this made it difficult to be an aggressive, sort of rushing, tip of the spear kind of player. And this, is my point. These issues are almost non-existent when you play in a squad, especially if you do so over VoIP or a party chat. And that, depending on how you look at it, is a problem. DICE have not had a great start to their marketing campaign, let's be honest. The hype surrounding Battlefield 5 is nowhere near as massive as it was for Battlefield 1. So for those people who DICE want to attract to the game, the players who've managed to ignore the petty negativity on the internet, they're trying to learn and adjust to all these new mechanics, and they're getting killed by campers and running out of bullets all the time. It would be really frustrating, and not necessarily an experience that would make you want to buy the game. So that's the core of my argument. Yes, make the game better with squad play, focus on it to an extent. It's a good thing in general, and I think it would make the franchise stand out as a massive multiplayer with a really, really heavy emphasis on teamwork. But I think it's risky to do this at the expense of the casual players, the ones that just like to hop on and shoot some people for an hour or two when they get home and have some time to themselves. So yeah, it's not something I really have a solution to, or really something that necessarily needs to be fixed, even if it could be. But it is a concern that DICE is making team play more rewarding, potentially at the expense of the solo player. I mean, we don't really know yet. People need to adjust and get used to the game, and as they do, I'm sure their playstyles will change and adapt over time. But what I saw in the beta worried me a little bit as all, and I thought I needed to bring that up. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry if it was a little bit ranty. It's hard to do a critical opinion piece without sounding like a bit of a dick. I actually really enjoyed the beta. I miss it already, and I can't wait for the release and get some new maps and new weapons and stuff. And I think DICE in general have done a really good job, and it's clear that they're trying hard to listen to the fans. So yeah, nice one, guys. It's looking really, really good. But anyway, if you've made it through this far and not fallen asleep yet, I take my hat off to you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Until next time, my name's Mr. Dex. Take care.